actually, Power of One will help us to really think about, well, what are we doing all the way through that? So I always say awareness, into consider, into convert, into deliver, the four things that a business needs to do.
Hello and welcome to the Driven Female Entrepreneur podcast. I'm your host, Melitta Campbell, award-winning business coach, value whisperer, and founder of the Dream Clients Blueprint, your step-by-step guide to communicating your true value with confidence and attracting more of your perfect fit clients. To help you start attracting more clients immediately, you can go to melittacampbell.com/training, where you'll find a training I've put together for you to help guide you in how to communicate your true value through everything you do so you can attract more of those clients with ease and comfort. On this show every week, I bring you practical, tried and tested techniques through my own experiences and those of other successful business owners. Our goal is to help you dream bigger and confidently achieve more in your business. Today on the show, I'm speaking with Richard Woods. He is a 3 times best-selling author, award-winning entrepreneur, finalist in the BBC series The Apprentice, keynote speaker, radio presenter, and investor. He runs the $1 Million Sprint, which collaborates with entrepreneurs and helps them scale their service-based business to $1 million in revenue. And while he has achieved an crazy amount over his career, the reason I have invited him on the show today to speak to you is because one of the ways he's done that is by keeping his business simple and focusing on the power of one. So I'm really excited for him to share his insights and show you how you can achieve more by doing less. So, hi Richard, it's great to have you with us on the show today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the invite. I'm excited.
Me too. And you've had such an interesting story to get to where you are, but I don't want to give any spoilers. I'd love to hand it over to you. And could you tell people a little bit about your backstory and how you got to where you are today?
Okay, well, it kind of all goes back to university. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I went to uni. So I saw this kind of business with entrepreneurship degree. And I thought, oh, yeah, I quite like the idea of running my own business. So I jumped in and took that. And it was a really great university course, which basically told you didn't need to go to university in the first place, which is kind of classic. But ultimately, it helped you to think deeper and a little bit more about what am I about? What are my values? What do I want to do? And I realized, having not taken art at all or design or anything throughout the whole time I was at college, that actually I really, really enjoyed design. I really enjoyed artwork. So when I graduated, I had a sketchbook of ideas that were products, and I got my graduate loan. I went across to India and China, where all my friends were like traveling around Thailand and like seeing lovely rainforests and stuff. I was on the streets of Delhi trying to basically negotiate over creating a 3-player chessboard or creating a box of cards, or I was in Hong Kong or Shenzhen or Guangzhou in China trying to do this kind of negotiations at 23 years old and a graduate loan, which is kind of where I cut my teeth. But it's amazing, as you might imagine, really fantastic life experience. And I brought these shipping containers back to the UK, and then I was up and down the high street with like a wheelie case, like going into retailers, plonking my suitcase on the counter and saying, right, do you want to buy some of my stuff? And my wife said, you're like literally Boy Trotter running around trying to sell your wares. But I just had so much energy and I was excited because this has come out my brain and I designed this, and suddenly there's a container full of it, which went great. But I graduated in 2006 to 2007, and of course 2008 happens in my sort of first year of business, and all the independent retailers that I was selling to were massively hit. Obviously the high streets had already taken a hit with all the sort of supermarkets and stuff not being great. Then all this happens and many of them were closing down, so that was a massive problem. And they were saying, well, look, we're not selling much, but we just need more customers. And back then, everybody's trying to do this transition. It's before Shopify or anything like that. Everybody's trying to transition to selling online. And it hadn't really properly kicked in. So I said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will build your website for you for free if you buy £1,000 worth of photo frames from us. And they were like, well, That sounds like a great idea. And so we started to sell all these different photo frames. And my brother was working in the business in the warehousing part. And I'd come back and I'd open the door and I'd be like, Tim, we've got a load of orders. It'd be brilliant. You pack up all these boxes, send out all these different photo frames and different products and stuff that we've done. And I said, and this evening, we've got to go build 3 websites. He's like, what? And we did it. And luckily, you know, we hadn't thought twice about doing our own site, and we kind of had worked out how to do it. And we did those. We quite enjoyed it. Anyway, 3 months down the line comes in, I bowl straight into the shop again, super excited about selling them more photo frames, thinking it's, you know, I've solved the problem. And they take me to the little storage area at the back of these different shops and show me all these boxes stacked full of product, which was my product, still photo frames. They're like, it's not selling at all, and kind of need to like sell these at like an auction to get rid of them because they're taking up too much space. I was like, oh, it's like my babies aren't selling, you know, I've designed these things, but I love a few more pages on the website. And we, you know, our customers are saying they really love the website. And of course, then the penny drops. And like many of us in business, you start to see opportunities and transition. And at that moment, then started to realize, actually, this market's not great for us. 2, I don't think my 3-player chessboard ever actually worked. And 3, we're quite good at this marketing stuff and this web stuff, and it's all a bit new, and there's a great opportunity there. And one thing led into another, and then we became what became Yomp, my marketing agency, which we grew to 28 staff, scaled to that $1 million in revenue, and ultimately that business went on to sell to a company that was part of a roll up into the NASDAQ. It actually floated as part of a group of companies. I wasn't part of it then, but we'd sold it into that. So it was a really nice exit. It was a great kind of run for the business. And that business, the business plan for that, and the book that I subsequently wrote around Digital Trailblazer, which is our product for that marketing agency, was the business plan that I went in and applied to go onto the Apprentice 1 year, the Lord Sugar Apprentice program. And the way that I got onto that, which was, you know, I know I'm going straight into it, to the story of it, but my wife was watching TV once and she heard the kind of background music, and I remember walking past going, what a bunch of arrogant whatchamacallits, God, I could do so much better than them. And she says, well, if you think you're so clever, why don't you apply? And of course, because I probably was a bit of an arrogant watcher, I was like, go on then, I'll do it. And I put this application, never in a million years, never thought that would happen. It's 80,000 people that apply every year to go onto this thing. It certainly was then. It was back in the heyday then. I just thought, nah, it's never going to happen. And turned up at Tottenham Court Road for an interview, which I thought would be like an interview with like, you know, 2 or 3 people interviewing me, seeing if I wanted to be there because I've been selected. And there was rows and rows and rows of people all queuing up, a little bit like on X Factor that you'll see them on the kind of talent shows, all queuing up. But the difference is on X Factor, they all got big hair and great shoulder pads and lovely leather jackets. Whereas the Apprentice, everybody has kind of the matching pocket hanky and tie and sock combo, which is all, you know, trying to wear sharp suits and looking a bit ridiculous. But anyway, nevertheless, I found myself in a boardroom with Lord Sugar, which was fun. So that's kind of a little snapshot of where I got to thus far. Well, not thus far, because, you know, I set up businesses then, but
Yeah. Yeah, what a fantastic story. And I was just thinking, yeah, the optimism of being 20 something, starting a business. Yeah, I can do everything. But great to see the evolution and how you were always, yeah, I can do that. And trying to wheel and deal a little bit, but then finding out something that you really love in that process and that you're really good at and that the market needs. And sometimes I see people really beating themselves up that, oh, this isn't working, but you have to keep going and try different avenues. There's always the next thing. There's always the next evolution. And I think that's partly what makes it so exciting. But I think you have to be prepared for that a little bit. Very few people start out in business and get it right first time and never evolve from that point either. So you need to be a bit prepared to roll with that. But then you learn so much in that process as well. And I have to ask, So what was it like being in that boardroom with Alan Sugar and having him as your mentor and that incredible team? That must have been just such a surreal experience.
It was, and it is a little bit strange because when you turn up, you don't speak to anyone, so you get a phone call to say that you're on it, and they say we're going to send a car to pick you up in a week, and it's like, oh well, that's my life, and they take you away, and you literally do not, you are away for 3 months, filming the thing, so you're only allowed one 10-minute phone call home a week, during that time, and they were picking me up on the Saturday, and on the Thursday, my wife came in with a pregnancy test saying I'm pregnant. And it's like, that's fantastic. And then I was like, and now I'm off for 3 months. Sorry. So it was one of those kind of like real in the moment. So my 10-minute phone call was sort of 8 minutes or so of Cara saying, oh, I've got morning sickness and I can't believe you've run off and done a TV 20 seconds of me saying it was all okay. Bless her. It was great. And actually it was really strange because went from there through to the final showing at Christmas, and my daughter was born a week later. So it's kind of the 9 months that you are filming this thing before it's ever even sees the world. But the first day, so when they pick you up on that car, the first thing they do is they fire you. So they take you straight to his offices and they actually fire you. So they get all the filming of you coming out. Everybody's being fired. That's the first thing that happens. So because what's happened, I think, in the past is that people got fired and then run off in a huff and they never get all the footage. So they get all the footage for everybody just in case that happens. But then you are dropped out of studios, which you think is going to be Canary Wharf, but it's not. It's actually a warehouse in Park Royal in London. And there's just a stream of 15 blacked out Mercedes. And they just stop and one person gets out, stop and one person gets out. And that's the first sort of moment you start to see everybody. You go straight through a black door and then you're in to that office or the reception that you see on the TV. And you're just looking at them. You haven't said anything to anyone. And they let you in. And then Sugar, Karen Brady and Claude Littner are all just sitting there. And they look like waxworks from Madame Tussauds where you start. And then they start talking to you and your face goes white and like you barely get the words out because they just build up the nerves. And I'm not a nervous person, but I was really, really nervous. But you do spend a lot of time with him, that when he sets the task, it's a whole morning that he's talking. When you do the boardroom, it's an entire day to film it. So you do get those moments off camera, those kind of little bits of guidance, that time to have a chat with them, which is really nice. But unfortunately, I'm not on a WhatsApp with him, so I can't get any further business advice. I would have been if I won it, but I just missed out. So, hey ho, never mind.
So, were there any of these secret nuggets that he shared that have stayed with you that have helped you in your next chapter?
Yeah, I think one of the ones that I always say when I'm coaching clients myself is that he loved the expression "smell what sells," and so it's very much a case of we all have a thesis for what we would like to actually sell and who we'd like to sell to, what the market we feel would be right for us. And we go and do a load of marketing and suddenly people are wanting and buying because people might tell you they want something, but actually until they actually pay some money, you don't really know. But when they do, and that starts to happen more often than not in a direction that you didn't expect, then follow your nose and go down that road. And I think that was really prominent in terms of a lot of things that I've done. So from very early stage before I ever met him, when we did that transition into selling websites as opposed to photo frames, and then throughout my business, I've always looked at expanding out a few different product ranges until I could see the one that's selling, and then I've doubled down on that. And it's around, for me, taking that further thought process forward is then applying another mentor, Gary Keller, who wrote the One Thing book, who I really, really love, is around that kind of the power of one, focusing on one and not having so many things in the air and so many projects you're working on, and smelling what sells and then applying the power of one and going deep on there instead of wide. And that's where you can really start to get some momentum because you're not stretching yourself too thinly. Yeah,
I love that. And I think that's really going to resonate with the audience because I know very few people listening are doing just one thing. They always have a family or other things going on in their life. They're not just spending all of their time doing one neat little thing. And we can feel very quickly overwhelmed, being pulled in all directions as a business owner. And that was something that I loved about your book, The $1 Million Sprint, because I had expectations when I picked it up. I didn't know you at that point. And most books that look a little bit masculine and they have $1 million in the title are very pushy, aggressive, and they go into this huge, elaborate system that you have to have in place if you're ever going to make it in business. And then there's your book saying about the power of one. And I was like, oh, now that's different. I like this. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think that's awesome, and I am aware about that whole kind of very massive, which is it's a big reflection on me. And again, this is another thing that I've learned over the years. When I is always to stay humble to the feedback and change and iterate. And this over masculine kind of branding and stuff we have with there is one thing I'm definitely working on at the moment because of that sort of feedback. So again, thank you for reiterating that. And I think that is an important point to anybody. Just always accept feedback and really do something about it if it's coming up too many times, right? So where for me has worked really well is that I scaled a boiler servicing business as well to $1 million revenue, a marketing agency revenue, and now my coaching business as well. And all of those have had a lead product, a flagship product that we've gone with. So it was the Digital Trailblazer from a marketing agency, which is basically it was a lead generation product. It was a boiler servicing business, and I even renamed that whole boiler servicing business to be called Boiler Servicing 24/7. That was the lead product, because if you service 1 in 10 boilers that you service needed a boiler replacement. So instead of trying to sell boiler replacements, sell servicing, which is only 100 quid, and you will get the actual boiler replacements off the back of it. And that was the aha moment that we had. And then that business scaled really quickly because of that. And then my coaching business now is to try and get clients, instead of selling one-to-one coaching, instead of selling a group program, trying to sell little small side products. What you find is you'll have 3 clients on this product, 4 clients on that product, 10 clients on this product. And then what happens, you just become a professional firefighter, because they want a bit of your time. They want a bit of your time. This person doesn't really want to upgrade to the top level product, but still wants a little bit of this. So you give them then a bespoke product. Now you just created a new product, and you just don't know who's got what and how's got what. And in the meantime, you got to account for that business. You've got to market for that business. You've got to do sales for that business. And it's chaos. Wouldn't it be easier if you just sold one coaching product or one service? Whatever you do, just sell the one key thing, and don't make it a selection of services like we might have, like a bronze, silver, and gold selection of how many different ticks that you can add in to make it a gold or a bronze. And it's some solutions. Make it the solution. And the way that you can approach this in your business is to think about, what's the pain that you solve as a business? What's the massive pain that your clients have that you solve? So for me, it was easy in the marketing agency because it was leads. It wasn't more followers on Facebook or more likes on this. What does that actually mean? Why do I want likes? Why do I want engagement? Why do I want new connections? Because I want to generate a lead that then books into a sales appointment, that then books into sales. And as a marketing agency, I wasn't doing the sales for you. And so therefore, I just was doing the marketing. And so for me, it was the lead generation, right? So you want more leads. So then we created the perfect lead generation service, and we just sold that. And that made us allow us to recruit people who are the skills to be able to deliver that. And we knew we had enough work for them because we were just doing the same thing. Optimize what we're doing with a set of processes, because then we can get good and good and good at it. Template out a load of things, put a load of training in. I used to have these lovely Trello boards, and I still do now, but with the coaching business, where it would have like, here's the 5 things you need to do, and next to each one is a little small training, like a Loom training or a little private YouTube video that would teach my clients or my staff what to do in that tick box. And then once I've made that asset once, that one product, and it has a one set of ways of delivering it, which means that when we get a client in, we can deliver for that. So now we've got the one product we're selling. Actually, Power of One will help us to really think about, well, what are we doing all the way through that? So I always say, awareness, into consider, into convert, into deliver. The 4 things that a business needs to do. Awareness is you need some way of people actually knowing, oh, okay, right, that's Richard Woods, and he talks about lead generation marketing. Okay, so they kind of now go, oh, okay, that's who you are, you talk about that, cool. Consider is then they need to come to something that where they go, could actually Richard help me with my marketing and lead generation? So they're considering you as potential suppliers. So I'm not just aware that you do something, I'm now considering you doing that something for me. And then convert is that I've gone, okay, I'm willing to come and actually have a sales conversation with you for you to sell that to me. And so therefore I become a really good lead because I'm here now for you to sell the thing that you already made me consider. And I'm looking forward to it, right? And so you've got to have an asset for that. And then find deliver, you need to deliver on the promise that you've just sold them on, right? So awareness, consider, convert, deliver, right? So those are the stages, and it's the power of one. So instead of having multiple social media channels that you're trying to hang out on, don't spread yourself too thinly. What if you just focused on one? Let me tell you my favorite, LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, you could go and do LinkedIn posts. You could do LinkedIn lives. You can do LinkedIn outreach. You could do LinkedIn newsletter, and you can do LinkedIn live audio. I mean, you can do LinkedIn outreach. You can do DMs. There's so many things you can do on LinkedIn. You wouldn't have enough time in the day to do everything you could do on LinkedIn. And if you're someone like me, your audience is on LinkedIn. They are there. They're sitting there perfectly. You may be completely different. You may be a swimming coach who wants to get their swimming coach for kids. You want to target parents. So those parents are hanging out in Facebook groups, in Facebook communities. And so that's all you need, because they've got to travel geographically. So you've got to go find the pool, excuse the expression because of swimming, but the group of people who are parents within the local towns near you. Facebook's your one place. You could retire off of the income that you could make just on 6 or 7 groups that are geographically close, full of parents, to the place that you do your swimming coaching. And by knowing where your audience hang out, just double down on that and make them aware that you are a swimming coach or you are a marketing company or marketing consultant. Then have what I call one weekly moment. That's the one thing that you want them to gravitate them towards. That's the thing you want them to consider you in. So for me, I have a weekly event. It's called LinkedIn for Breakfast, 9 o'clock every Wednesday, right? And I just want all of my people that I connect with, message, DM on LinkedIn, to gravitate towards my free LinkedIn event, where I can then show them about the power of LinkedIn and what people can do and different things like, how to do a LinkedIn newsletter, how to do LinkedIn Live, etc. So now they consider me as, oh, Richard kind of knows about this LinkedIn and marketing stuff. And then I do one call to action and say, hey, LinkedIn is just a slice of the pie. If you really want to grow your business, then maybe you might want to look at these 9 steps to $1 million in revenue that we talk about with the $1 million sprint. If you want to, no obligation, but feel free to book in a strategy session with us, totally free. So now I've gone, hey, here's some free content. And go, oh, that's cool. And then if you want to look at how to really make this work, have that strategy session, bam, they've gone into consideration. And then, of course, you show them the product and then they go buy the product. So that's the power of one. One place to build awareness, LinkedIn. One weekly moment, LinkedIn for Breakfast at my weekly event on 9 o'clock on Wednesdays. One type of sales meeting strategy session, and then one product $1 million sprint. And every person and every business I've owned and every client that I know, especially small businesses, can do that to get their business to $1 million in revenue. Beyond there, I sign you off and you can go crack on, but to get my specialty is to get you to $1 million in revenue. And I know the power of one is all you need to get to $1 million in revenue.
I think that's going to be music to so many ears. But I love that you have this clear customer journey, and it's not have one offer, but then dozens of other things going on around that it is one thing at every single stage that you can master, you can template, you can bring people in to support you with that, so you can hand off elements so your business just continually gets simpler, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's about optimization, not expansion. Once you know, right, I'm going to go pin my colors to the mast of Instagram, then you just become a complete scholar of every single way to do it. And you just get better and better. And they say, like, learning to be a violinist, I can't get my words out, takes X amount of, there's a saying, isn't it? Something 1,000 hours or whatever it is to become an expert at something. Well, how many hours are you spending on educating yourself on Instagram. Don't expect to be an influencer or a YouTuber and get your silver kind of play button if you're also trying to be an influencer on Instagram at the same time as being very highbrow on LinkedIn and then dancing the funky chicken 5 minutes later on TikTok. Like, it's too many things and too difficult. Anyway, I've labored the point.
Yeah, I always think you can do everything, but not all at the same time. And regular listeners of the show will know that one of my favorite sayings is, you can't ride two horses with one ass. So simplify.
I love
it. So you mentioned there LinkedIn and keeping things simple. So I was wondering, as you was explaining that, how or if you use AI and automation to help with that process.
Yes, and I love it. This comes with a massive caveat, okay? And everything I say from here on out, none of this advice should be followed. And it's, light entertainment with Richard in the afternoon or morning, whenever he's listening to this. But ultimately, LinkedIn automation is really great, I personally think. And yes, the right is to get to the LinkedIn user guidelines, but you want to try and mimic human behavior by using it. And why is that important? Well, if you only put half an hour a day to do LinkedIn, which is more than enough, an hour max, right? And if you spend that time just sending your 20 connection requests out a day and sending a couple of messages that are always the same because that's what you're doing, then you're wasting that valuable time because everybody's time poor. So if you've been able to scrape out just half an hour a day, which is great, congratulations, you're already in the top kind of 1% of people using LinkedIn. If you have been able to do that, don't waste it on that. Get an automation box to do the connection request and also to follow on the next message. So the conversations you're actually having are past that bit and people replying to your messages coming out. And then you're having real conversations with people who actually have replied, because not everybody does. So you don't want to waste time on that. The second thing is we talk about actually clamming on LinkedIn. And I'm sorry for the weird kind of phrase, but it helps me remember it, which is if you see people that you want to connect with or people that are specifically want to target that are posting and stuff, you can comment, like, add a message. So comment on someone else's profile, like what they're saying, add them as a connection if they're not already, and message them after that. And you're going to get a far higher response rate. So that can be mostly done through automation. And then all that's left is actually commenting on people's posts. So therefore, if you had automation doing your connection requests and also all the liking of different people's posts, and you just spent your time responding to their posts, commenting on other people's, engaging, being a good community member and sharing other stuff such as polls, which are really good for driving engagement, posts, which are great. If you're trying to promote a weekly moment like I do, we always say start the week with an engagement created like a poll, spikes the algorithm, gets people talking about your subject at the start of the week. Then Tuesday, then drop the invite for your weekly moment. This might be on Wednesday. You can also DM all the people that voted on your poll on Monday, invite them to the weekly moment on Wednesday. Thursday, do a throwback Thursday type poll and also share the replay of your content out to everybody. Friday, we talk about share a win Friday, should share some credibility on a Friday, right? And so now you've got a set rhythm for your week. Focus on working that rhythm and engaging in that rhythm, and then know that your audience is going to get built through automation in the background. That can be super successful doing it that way.
Wow. You've just given everyone a complete marketing plan using LinkedIn. And on that, in fact, you mentioned earlier that when you had your marketing agency, it was all about lead generation and how much you love LinkedIn. So now is probably a good point to mention that you have a 5-day LinkedIn challenge to help people get those leads coming in and take them step by step through that you're giving away to anyone listening who wants to learn a bit more and engage with a bit of hand holding along the way in developing that process. So I'll put the link to that underneath it. But if they go to your website, that's milliondollar-sprint.com/LinkedIn challenge, they'll find that. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. I think it's LinkedIn -challenge, maybe. I don't know, but go milliondollar-sprint.com and you'll find it. And if you don't, just DM me and I'll send it to you. No problem at all. Just on that challenge, by the way, we have a thesis of TNAD, which is around try it, nail it, automate it, and delegate it, right? TNAD. And so what that challenge will help you to do is to try LinkedIn outreach. So get the right searches, get the right connection message, get the right follow-on message, actually get you messaging. And many people have been able to generate actual appointments in their diaries within day 3 of that challenge by just following the structure, right? And so you can work that challenge and get appointments in your diaries within that 5 days. That's been many times before, been done by lots of people who've done that challenge. Day 5 of that challenge is around using the automation, because we talk about try it, nail it, automate it, then delegate it. So automation is day 5, which is exciting. So now you're trying something, nailing it, you're getting appointments. Then it's probably a little bit too soon to do it on 5 days if you do it back to back. But you could do. I would always say teen at it for a few weeks, get a feel for it, then automate it. But you could do it on day 5, like we're doing in the challenge. You then automate it, so you're getting those connection requests going out without you. And then the last thing, delegate, is that once that's all working nicely, you could then get a VA into this, actually just make sure that a few of the replies are working well. And before you know it, someone's then doing those replies for you. And then you have a lead generation campaign within LinkedIn working completely automated and delegated. And you can just then do your strategies, your sales meetings with people and your weekly moment with people, and then happy days.
Yeah. And I love this because one thing that I talk a lot about, and it's something if you're new to marketing, they might not be aware of, is that there's basically 2 forms of strategy. There's a hunting where you go out and find people, and there's the farming where you kind of plant the seeds, nurture them over time, and then wait for them to come to you, which is the posting on social media, that kind of thing that most people do the majority of, but they're not doing the hunting. So it's really slow. So what I love about this 5-day challenge is you are really making it easy and safe for people to start that hunting process and try it out for themselves. And I think that's a great thing. And I see too many people missing that. So thank you again for sharing this challenge.
Pleasure. Yeah, we call it friend zoning your audience, giving them so much stuff, but never asking for the date. And so let's help you ask for the date. Audience.
Richard, I could talk to you all day. You have shared so much value, but is there anything you feel that, particularly when it comes to lead generation, building your business simply up to this $1 million mark, is there anything you think they really need to understand this to get started or to make this work for them?
Well, lovely. Well, thank you, by the way, for inviting me on before I ask that final question. And if anybody does want to see me back, just plugging my own return to the pod, then dear Melitta, and I'm sure I could find time to come back if this has landed. If it hasn't, just say don't have that Richard on again. He was useless.
Salesman.
But
actually,
go on.
That brings me back to something is what I've noticed in your story, and we've just really touched on it, but what you have done is noticed the opportunities in the gaps. And this is something I talk about with my clients, that once you get to know your audience, once you really understand your clients, you can see those gaps. So you can see that they're missing a website. Well, that's my way in. Or, actually servicing is going to be the first level, and it's going to naturally lead on to that bigger sale. And why not sell yourself on a podcast like you just did as well? Why not take those opportunities? We don't see it very often. So yeah.
Anyway. Oh, well, I'm going to take that as a compliment. Thank you. I think, I think that's what it is. Do you know what? I find sales is problem solving. Now, sometimes you're problem solving people to be able to make a purchase. Other times it's just problem solving in different areas and structuring business in different routes because you're trying to solve the problem of growing. Now, the thing that I was going to leave everybody with is the second book that I'll recommend, which is called Profit First. And I love this book. And it was part of that problem solving process that when we were scaling and doing over 100K a month in the marketing business, and I would get to the end of the month and there'll be no money left. And I'm like, how the bloody hell have I spent that much money and I'm not even getting anything myself? Like, what's going on? I've got staff that earn more than I do out of this business. This is ridiculous. And basically, I was just putting all the money into one bank account. All the DDs would go out. I think I'd have loads of money at the start of the month, and then by the end of the month, I have nothing, right? And so Profit First came into my world then. And the beauty of Profit First is it teaches you to be able to silo all your different revenues into different hoppers, such as an income hopper that all your money goes into. Then you need a VAT hopper for all the stuff goes out, so then it goes into there. Then a hopper for expenses, a hopper for tax, a hopper for profit, and a hopper for your personal income. But you have to distribute that once or twice a week. So then you know, okay, I'm being personally rewarded as my business grows because I'm earning 30% of, what the business turnover is, or 50% of the business turnover. That's what I'm allocating as my percentage. And so every £1,000 that comes in distributes through those bank accounts, and it's like a £500 reward for every £1,000 comes in, because it's in your business and it's siloed. And then that starts to go, okay, great. So you just want to do more and more and more of it, and you're finally working in a way that means that your expenses have to stay at, say, that 30% of revenue, because there is no more money in the bank account to spend. So should I buy that next software? Should I employ that next person? Should I run those ads? All is answered by, is their budget allocated out of the 30%, not out of the 100% of the business? And that revolutionized, not necessarily my business, but revolutionized my personal income from my business, which ultimately really incentivized us to grow that even further. And it became one of the reasons why we were able to exit for a good amount, because we were able to show such good profitability because of the way that I was working that Profit First system. So if anybody is struggling with what to do with money, cash flow, overspending, not budgeting well, work a cash first system. Not necessarily worrying about your accounts or etc., but just worrying about actually how's the money flowing for your business. And that's really helped us to be able to scale off the back of it. So definitely worth a read, that one.
Yeah, brilliant recommendation. I love all of his books. And a little treat for anyone, you read that book. But in January, we have Suzanne coming on the show, who co-authored with Mike Michalowicz Profit First for Minority Business Owners. And so she's going to be on the show in January. So we'll be diving deeper into Profit First with her. So that's a great lead in to a future guest. Thank you.
Fantastic. We'll look forward to that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Richard, thank you so much. If people want to know more about you, where is the best place for them to go to? Is it that website, milliondollarsprint.com?
Yeah. Connect with me on LinkedIn and just say, listen to you on the podcast and send the connection request. It'd be great to do it. Or of course, jump onto milliondollarsprint.com.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Richard.
Pleasure. Thanks so much. See you later.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope you took away as much value as I did and are ready to reach $1 million in revenue while keeping things simple and focusing on the power of one. Come and join the discussion in the Dream Clients Club on School, that's School with K, and let me know what your biggest takeaways have been and what you're going to put into practice after listening to this week's show. And if you enjoyed the show, then please do leave a review on iTunes. That really helps the show to be found by more business owners so they can also benefit from all the wisdom shared on the show. And you are, of course, very welcome to share this podcast episode with your network and business besties so they can grow alongside you. There are a lot more tools, tips, and insights coming up for you in the next episode, so don't miss next week's show. Better still, subscribe now so you never miss your weekly dose of inspiration. And remember, go to melittacampbell.com/training to access your free training with me to help you start attracting more of your dream clients by communicating your true value. I'm Melitta Campbell, your business coach and value whisperer, and I look forward to meeting you again in next week's episode.